Okay, Oscar fans, if you want the real inside track on who and what films are ahead for the Academy Awards, these are the two people you need to steal your predictions from. Glenn Whipp from the Los Angeles Times, Joyce Eng from Gold Derby. I'm Tom O'Neill of Gold Derby. These are the two experts who consistently have the best score predicting any award, and they usually they take turns clobbering each other and all of us. So this here is the death match among great predictors.
I've run out of room on my wall. I don't know about you, Joe.
I haven't put any. I'm too modest to put my certificates up, so
I paper my wall with those.
That's what you get, by the way, when you win the prediction contest at Gold Derby. Your own certificates. It's all worth it, right? Joyce, let's start with you. There are 5 films I think can win Best Picture if things go right for it. Star is Born, Roma, Green Book, Black Panther, and The Favorite. Give me your reaction to those.
I agree with those. I have all of those predicted in my top 10. I have Black Panther a little bit lower, but I think it's getting in. I currently have A Star is Born winning. I think that's the one we have the most data on right now, and it's like the talk of the town at the moment, of the month. So I think that's currently ahead. I think Green Book is very dangerous. Like, I think I have it in third right now, but I think I'm going to move it to like number 2. Like, I could see that just getting if it's not your number 1 movie, just getting the 2s and 3s and just going all the way, like, with that path. So I think those are a pretty good, strong 5. The Favorite, I think I love The Favorite, but I could see that being kind of divisive, like people walking in expecting like a stuffy like period piece, and it's just not what they're expecting. But I think it'll have like its supporters in there, and it'll be up there.
Glenn, what say you?
Man, I'm having like a really bad Oscar flashback right now. Talking about Green Book, and I'm just having the flashback to 1989 when Driving Miss Daisy won the Oscar for Best Picture over a movie that wasn't even nominated. That was Do the Right Thing, Spike Lee's great film, which I think, 30 years later, 29 years later, nobody's really thinking Driving Miss Daisy should have won Best Picture over Do the Right Thing. And this year, we've got Green Book, which is a flip on Driving Miss Daisy.
And Spike Lee is back.
And Spike Lee is back with Black Klansman, a movie that has not been mentioned by either one of you. And finally, maybe Spike Lee gets a nomination for director. Long overdue. And I can't imagine Black Klansman, which is close to $50 million now on box office gross. Very popular movie, critically acclaimed. I can't imagine that not being a factor in the Best Picture race.
Right. It could. It did lead our predictions at Gold Derby through late August and into early September when the film festivals kind of shook things up among our predictions. But it's certainly still in there for a potential winner. I should have named that as well. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have that in mind. I've moved it down since like all these other movies started screening, but I think that was like my top 1, Black Klansman, for like a month.
Star is Born is out front now. Is it out front too early? Is this La La Land repeated? In other words, a movie that everybody loves, and it's the popular film, and it's the heart gusher, and it was out front so long it ended up fumbling it literally.
I think as long as it doesn't win 7 Golden Globes, it's okay. I think it's not a direct comparison, even though they're both like musicals, but I think, A Star is Born is a familiar story. This is the 4th remake. People know like the general plot of it. And with La La Land, I think the difference between them is La La Land had the burden of proving people right, and A Star is Born has the burden of proving people wrong. Because if you remember when Bradley and like Gaga were announced for it, like there's a lot of like mockery online. Like people were kind of expecting it to be bad. And I think even like going into Venice, some people were like, this could just be like high camp. It's like a movie you watch to, you know, not to be like derisive about it, but just like you're not really expecting it to go anywhere, but people were surprised by how good it is. Whereas with La La Land, I think all the high expectations, you know, people ended up watching it. It opened in December, and like some people were like, it was good, but was it like that great? You know, and then did it really deserve 7 Golden Globes? So I think like that's the key difference between the two of them.
Glenn, you've got A Star Is Born out front to win right now. What you're thinking?
I did that just for you, Tom, because
thank you, Glenn.
I catch a little bit of hell from you for not updating my prediction. And a lot of times this early in the season, and I'm just I'm kind of advocating a little bit with my predictions. But I knew we were doing this, so I thought I'd refresh them. And, you know, I don't know if you used the word front runner with Star Is Born. I think you just did. Mm-hmm. Warner Brothers will not talk to you now for using that word.
I know, they're so superstitious in Hollywood.
I've had conversations with people this week about A Star Is Born, and they just say, no, we are not the front runner. Do not call it front runner. We're just taking it day by day. It's like the baseball player cliche or the athlete cliche. You know, we're just taking it one game at a time. And yeah, they don't want it. But what other movie could you, as Joyce said, all the data is right there for it. It's closing in $200 million box office, incredibly popular. People love it, but it skews more toward women. And I've had male Academy members tell me they liked it okay, but they don't have a ton of feeling for the Bradley Cooper character, that the movie's a little bit glorifying, male suffering, martyrdom. I mean, there's all kinds of problems, and you don't want to be called a front runner this early because it's the next 4 months. And I don't know. I mean, I keep thinking, okay, what's going to be the movie to take down Star Is Born? What other movies could win Best Picture? I think Joyce is absolutely right about Green Book. I've written about that, or pieces that will be running in the Times soon. I mean, that's the sleeping giant of award season. It's opening Thanksgiving. It's just going to be huge. Universal keeps having to add screenings because the word of mouth on this movie is so fantastic. And, I won the People's Choice Award, Audience Award at Toronto. People love it. And
it's the movie, too, that causes the audience to stand up and whoop with delight, literally rooting for it, the way you did Rocky or Slumdog Millionaire. And there was a little bit of that for Shape of Water last year at the TIFF premiere. But Green Day, that ovation went on 10, 15 minutes in Toronto, and it went insane. And there was this sense of discovery to it. Like, wow, who knew that this was a real movie? Peter Farrelly, this? And it seems like kind of an obvious paper-thin storyline, and it is, but it's so well done and wins you over so winningly that it's the movie. If Oscar voters vote with their hearts, if they have hearts, and if they do vote by them, and they sometimes do for both of those issues, this could be that one that they embrace.
I just think there's going to be. Go ahead, Joyce.
I was just going to say, like, it will be very key if, like, Peter Farrelly can get into directing. Or is this, like, literally going to be like Driving Miss Daisy again?
I know, where the director doesn't get in at all, right? But still wins Best Picture. That would be the thing that we're waiting for on the awards side of things. I
just think there's probably going to be a bit of a critical backlash against Green Book. There's going to be issues taken with its handling of race. There's, once it opens in theaters, I think critics of color in particular are going to kind of look at the way it handles race and not be particularly pleased with it. So it's going to have to weather that storm. But as far as just audiences who are seeing it, I mean, you talk about Academy members, they've been screening it for Academy members. The theaters have been full. And at screenings where there's no Q&A afterward, people are still standing and applauding. They love the chemistry between Viggo Mortensen and Mahershala Ali, and that compensates for a lot of, kind of by the numbers storytelling, if you will, but maybe you don't.
Yeah, that's okay. Roma has been out front for the last month at Gold Derby. A Star is Born has just overtaken it. Where does Roma stand now in the Derby overall?
I have it in second. I think it's going to be the most admired and respected film. It just has, the foreign language aspect going against it, and, on a lesser case, like being black and white, but I think like if it's like a field of five, like the old system, it could win, but I think it would be harder for now. And I think like they could just honor it, like with Alfonso, like he could be nominated like in 5 categories, and it could just give him director and, like even like cinematography, because he shot it. So yeah. It's such a personal like movie for him. So it just really depends on like the response to it. But I feel like it's one of those movies that's just admired, and that it may not be something you like love as much. I feel like it's a critical favorite, which might not translate with the industry and just, even like moviegoers. Like it's opening in some theaters. I think 100 theaters. Netflix is releasing it. So, I mean, we'll see. But I think it's in my second spot right now. So.
I mean, we'll never know how many moviegoers see it, because Netflix doesn't release the box office, and Netflix is still trying to figure out what to do with this movie theatrically. There's been talk that now Netflix might release it 2 weeks ahead of its Netflix premiere date in some theaters. Which would be a first for Netflix, to premiere a movie ahead of it arriving on streaming. Yeah. But there's a real, I think, you look at 22 July, which did not get the kind of reviews that Roma has received out of festivals, but still a pretty good movie. Who's talking about 22 July? It just came and went. It died. And nobody's talking about it. And I don't think that will happen with Roma, because the difference is, I think Roma, once New York film critics and LA film critics vote in late November, early December, one of those groups is bound to give Roma Best Picture. And then you're going to start to have momentum with critics groups with Roma. So that's going to keep the movie in conversation. But as far as, theatrically, we'll never know, because Netflix doesn't report box office, just like they don't report how many people watch titles on their streaming site.
Let's switch over to Best Actress here. Is it Lady Gaga's year? We can be skeptical for obvious reasons about that. Joyce, let's go to you. And this Olivia Colman going to lead was masterful, wasn't it, for Fox Searchlight with the favorite to put her there? Because, yes, Lady Gaga is the kind of glamour glitter queen, the big star who the Oscars love to crown periodically. But Olivia Colman is the discovery. She's going to win Best Actress at those Critics Awards. I think hands down, she'll sweep there, and then she'll get this sense of momentum going in her favor. But then there's the Glenn Close factor. So, Joyce, set this up for us. Best Actress.
I'm just excited at the prospect of not one person winning everything this season again. I hope there will be like a lot of splits. I still have Glenn out front before like anyone has won anything technically yet, but I think Olivia going lead hurts her in that, just like you said, like she will eat into her critics hall, because the path for Lady Gaga is not critics at all. Like she is like the Matthew McConaughey like she needs to like depend on the industry, like the Globes, the televised precursors. And she also has the potential song win. So like that's an out. Like you don't have to vote for Gaga an actress if you don't want to. You can just give her song. I could see Olivia winning. I think for Glenn, you know, they just need to remind people she's never won before. But she's also in the smallest movie of the three, possibly her film's only nomination. And I think the favorite, you know, with like, if they really get it out there, and Olivia is also a respected actress. Like she's won a bunch of BAFTAs. You know, she won a surprise Globe a couple years ago for The Night Manager. And she's gonna be in The Crown, and I think like she'll do like the promo and stuff. She's already done a bunch of stuff like overseas in the UK for it, and we know she's probably got BAFTA in the bag. Like she's getting that one, and I think, you know, if like there is a chance, I wrote about this, like if like the Globes keep A Star Is Born in drama and they give it to Gaga, there's a chance that Glenn could go into Oscars with only the SAG as her precursor.
Glenn, what do you think?
Tom, how many Oscar nominations for Glenn Close? 5, 7? I can't remember.
6.
5, right? Yeah.
6.
Thank you. 6. We split it down the middle. Okay, so most Oscar nominations without a win of any living human being.
Yes, and most among women, she's tied with Deborah Carr and Thelma Ritter at 666 losses on the women's side. Peter O'Toole, of course, set the record for overall with 7 among acting. But yeah, Glenn Close.
He has 8. He's 0 for 8.
Oh, we're
I'm
at 0 for
talking about people who are still with us.
That's true.
Still alive and well.
Right. No, you're right. She's the biggest loser. And then there's Amy Adams. She's down at 5, right? Lost.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Tom, you're saying that poor Glenn Close is going to lose.
I don't know. You know, the year of Still Alice, Julianne Moore, that's a good case of a movie that didn't have a lot of support in other categories, right? Sometimes you don't, I'm going to your point, Joyce, where you're saying, you know, can a movie win if it doesn't have nominations in other categories? I think Beginners was a good case of that with Christopher. It can happen, right?
Yeah, it happens more so in actors than actors.
Yeah, but
the Julianne Moore year, there was no real competition. There was no real.
That was a weaker year compared to this one.
This year, I wouldn't be shocked if a major critics group gave the award to Gaga, because even people who have issues with the film's second half love her in the movie. I think she's the best thing in the movie. She keeps that movie, she makes that movie great. So I don't think it would be, I mean, and so I was just playing devil's advocate with you in terms of the Glenn Close thing. I think, yeah, and going back to your original point, Olivia Colman in lead was genius moved by Searchlight. And I had talked to him about this before they announced it, because it puts Emma Stone and Rachel Weisz in supporting. Whereas if both of them had been for lead, both of them probably wouldn't have been nominated. Put them both in supporting, both will be nominated. And there's no way Olivia Colman's not going to be nominated. So you get all three. And I could see Olivia Colman ending up winning the Oscar for it. I love what Joyce said. You know, knocking on some wood here, that we're not going to have a year where it's a Daniel Day-Lewis, although I had no problem with that, but it's not going to be one person winning every freaking award. Can I say freaking on Gold Derby?
Yes. But no, it's a three-way race as we size it up now at Gold Derby. We also have Melissa McCarthy, of course, is formidable for Can You Ever Forgive Me? And of course, it's a nice surprise to see her going there. Other contenders, Nicole Kidman's in there with Destroyer. Julia Roberts is back with Ben is Back, and here she's got her TV show on the side, of course. Charlize Theron, Tully, Rosamund Pike, Private War, Emily Blunt, Mary Poppins Returns, Viola Davis for Widows. That's a nice surprise.
Yeah. Viola Davis, Widows.
I know it's a commercial film, but boy, she delivers.
I think Widows is going to be. It could surprise.
I know
it's a really good movie. I think it's going to do well commercially, and it's a heist pick, but it weaves in a lot of societal commentary very smartly. And Viola Davis, yes, Viola Davis.
She gives an Academy-worthy performance in a heist movie, yes, and she is magnificent.
More than a heist movie, though.
It's much more than a heist movie, and you're right. It has the potential to be a huge, huge hit. Not just a hit movie, but it could go insane at the box office because it's like the perfect date movie for guys and girls and everything, and female empowerment and all those wonderful issues. Moving down to supporting, let's take a look at the supporting actor. Mahershala Ali has just, in the last few days, assumed the lead over poor Timothée Chalamet, who's had the lead for the last 5 or 6 weeks at Gold Derby. What is that all about, Joyce? Why is Mahershala out front all of a sudden?
Because everyone loves Green Book.
Right. Okay.
Like it's just, I mean, they could have pushed both of them lead. Like it's a two-hander. But he's okay with going supporting again, and he could go 2 for 2, one of 7 people with a perfect 2 for 2 record. And he, it's kind of, I guess it's not like against type for him, since I guess, we don't really have a lot of lengthy resume of like film credits we're familiar with him. But, like compared to Moonlight, this is like, he's so like bunned up in the movie, and it's just kind of that like classic arc in a movie where like the buttoned up guy like kind of like opens up at the end. Like they both like change each other like during the course of the film, but it's he has a ton of screen time, and it's just a very winning performance. And the like Glenn said, like the chemistry between like him and and Viggo, like that you just root for both of them. So I think he has like all of that in his favor. And with Timothy, I think like he can still get in, but I think his age also hurts him, and the movie hasn't been as strong as like some people might have expected early on in the season. So I don't know if he could beat him. And I mean, this category is very open right now. Yeah. And I could just totally see people who love Green Book just defaulting to Mahershala because he's there and they love the movie.
But Sam Elliott is the veteran that they like. He's in Star is Born. You could see him breaking through, right, Glenn? And then Sam Rockwell will be back with Vice. We haven't seen it yet. He plays George W. Bush in a cartoonishly fun way, it looks like. And Richard E. Grant is like the gay gadfly Addison DeWitt type character. George Sanders, I don't think it was gay in All About Eve, but it was the same kind of prototype character. Size up this race for us.
Adam Driver
from BlacKkKlansman, that's right.
One of the great actors working right now. I have him probably a little advocacy there. But okay. I would say, and Vice is, we don't know. It could be great, it could be a misfire. Tonally, it's going to have a real tightrope to walk. And we'll find out in a couple of weeks whether it's got the goods or not. I think if there's one acting category that has the potential for a award season sweep, it's probably this one with Mahershala Ali, because again, I mean, it's a pretty fantastic performance. Again, these two, as I mentioned earlier, these two performances just carry the movie. And Viggo Mortensen's going to have a little bit harder time in lead actor.
Let's go there, because I jumped over lead actor. Viggo is in a close race according to the Gold Derby odds and predictions with Bradley. And if you just stick with our predictions, it looks like the race is between those two. What do you think?
Yeah, I put 4 people in my lead actor thing. I kept one opening because I'm just pretty much waiting for Christian Bale to kill it as Cheney. And I think once that movie screens, and once we've seen the trailer, it's pretty remarkable. I think this could be I think this. I mean, I'm just waiting for it. I'm. You get to this point in the season and you've seen just about everything, but there's always like a couple of movies. Maybe it's right. For the mule, man. Maybe
that could happen. Of course, he's never won for actors.
But Warner Brothers keeps saying it's not an Oscar movie, it's a commercial movie. So I'm going to take them at their word. But Christian Bale playing Cheney has, all the earmarks of what could win a lead actor race. And I think more so than Cooper, for sure, because I've mentioned problems with that performance. With male Academy members having problems with that, and maybe Viggo, maybe both win it, but like I say, I'm waiting for Bale.
Yes, and Ethan Hawke is a projected nominee according to Gold Derby. A lot of us have him for First Reformed.
That would be great, wouldn't it?
He could definitely be like the passion pick, like the one. If there's the usual suspects, like the 3 or 4 getting in, like he could be just
be that surprise, the one that we don't see coming,
like the number one.
Rami Malek really wowed me in Bohemian Rhapsody. That movie is not going to get up for director, but given the problems with Bryan Singer and all of that, it's been kind of eliminated from other races, but. Do either of you think he can win, Rami? I do. I think if things broke the right way, he could win.
I don't think he can win. I think if he gets in, like the nomination would be the reward for him.
Why? He's the whole movie. It's the biopic. It is,
but like there's just like, I mean, if your top 5 right now is like Bradley, Christian, Viggo. Some people still have Ryan Gosling in there, although I think some people are starting to take him out as well. Yeah. And Rami, like it's just a bunch of like biopics, like real life people, and then you have 2 musicians.
Well, that's the history of the award, though.
Yeah, and I feel like like A Star Is Born is the more successful movie, and like you said, like all the stuff with Bryan Singer will hold Bohemian Rhapsody back. Like it's right now, it just feels like it's just like an acting play for Rami with that movie. And, like it's not fair to punish him for whatever, went down with Bryan and all the other accusations against him. But like some people just could be turned off by the whole thing. I know some people who just won't watch the movie because of that. Whereas, some people are just Queen fans and will just go to see the movie. They don't care. So I think like a lot of that could hurt him. I think like he'll get at the Globes. Like they're also submitting in drama there. Like they have room for him. He could be one of those who gets in at Globes and SAGs and then just gets snubbed too.
I mean, Joyce was wondering, can we not punish him for the connection to Bryan Singer? Can we punish him for just how bad the movie is?
Oh, Glenn, you're so wrong.
I didn't even bring that up. Like all the reviews for the movie.
Wrong.
It is. I mean, he can't escape that movie. It's awful.
I know you didn't like it.
People have gotten in for worse reviewed movies, but yeah, he has a lot of check marks in the con column. Now.
No, he doesn't. Right after we all, Glenn, after you and I, a bunch of us saw it there on the Fox lot, I got an email the next day or so saying, I won't say from who, but you could probably figure it out, saying, the movie's so divisive, Tom, where do you stand among us Oscarologists? And I said, we've heard that Glenn and Ann, meaning Ann Thompson, don't like the movie. So I had heard an early word right hours afterwards that you didn't like it.
Oh, it's funny. At that party, my wife was aghast because publicists, come up to you after the movie. They want to know honestly what you thought, and so I was giving them my honest reaction. Not mincing any words. My wife was like, "You're just being mean."
Whoa!
Like, they want to hear what you think. They don't want, politeness. If Rami Malek had approached me, I would have, sugarcoated it a little bit, but
I think he is good in it. Like not talking about the movie as a whole. I think he also looks in it. If you're gonna give someone credit for singing, then give it to Bradley Cooper.
Supporting actors. Now we're jumping back into the supporting race because I jumped over lead actor and we're now heading south again. with the two favorite co-stars now designated to supporting, I think we all agree that they're likely to be nominated. Do we have a front runner? Where am I? Here we have Regina King as our front runner. Glenn, you pipe in here. Where do you stand on supporting actress?
I think Regina King is somebody like Allison Janney. You don't really vote against Regina King, or you can predict against her for awards. Like every time Allison Janney is up for an Emmy, and she has lost a couple recently.
But she has 7. She's fine.
I know, right? But I mean, you just don't predict against these people. They're very popular within the industry. And Regina King is fantastic in Barry Jenkins' If Beale Street Could Talk, which is a movie that we didn't really talk about much in the Best Picture category. But I think that's a movie that's going to be nominated for Best Picture.
Yes, it will.
Wouldn't be surprised if Barry Jenkins returns to the director ranks too. And Regina King is fantastic in this movie. And again, she's really respected in this industry. And she might be adding an Oscar to her, many Emmys on her shelf.
Joyce, she's won 3 Emmys out of 4 in the past 4 years. She is this awards magnet, isn't she? And in the industry, these are peer group awards. They love their Regina King.
Yeah, I mean, granted, that is the TV Academy. There's some overlap in membership, but she is, she's been working for 30 years. She's been in Best Picture nominees. And the Allison Janney comparison is perfect because she feels like with Allison, you were just waiting for her to get the perfect role in a vehicle to give her an Oscar. So I think she's in a good position for it. It could just be sort of like Moonlight again, where they carry a supporting win. And Beale Street might not win Best Picture, but it could win Adapted Screenplay for Barry again. So I think, yeah, she has a good chance. And I know Amy Adams is up there, sight unseen, still in Vice, but she's
let's
over
talk
5.
about that. 5 losses. They do like to finally catch up with people, and she is in Vice. So in other words, she has that kind of sentiment, a rooting factor for she's overdue. It could finally catch up here.
Yeah, I think I don't know how many people are thinking Amy Adams would finally win her Oscar for playing Lynn Chaney, but
I know.
It's still kind of how much of her is in the movie, since it is about Dick Cheney and everything. But if she can work in there, she has sharp objects behind her too, so she could double up at the Globes and SAGs for both, or maybe they each think they have an out with sharp objects, give her an award there and not give it to her for Vice. But the other thing I'm wondering is you have these 2 overdue actresses in each actress category, Glenn and her. Are they really going to give these 2 overdue stars awards on the same night?
Yeah, I think Amy Adams is going to need a couple of great scenes in that movie. Because I don't think the screen time is going to be there. But if she has a couple of great scenes, maybe nominated. Talking about the 2 women, I feel a lot more passion whenever Amy Adams doesn't win an Oscar than Glenn Close.
She's the female Leo at this point, on the internet.
Yeah, exactly. That's a perfect comparison. And I agree. I don't know that this is the movie going to get her Oscar for, but she has a lot of years ahead of her.
So, Glenn, if one of the favorite women win, Emma Stone or Rachel Weisz here, which one would it be?
Man, that's a hard choice. Like Joyce, I really like this movie a lot. And, Emma Stone has won an Oscar recently. So I don't know how much thinking that goes into it. They're both great parts. They're both great roles. Tough to say. I leaned a little bit toward Rachel.
I do too. Yeah.
Rachel was actually my favorite.
I know, she was mine too. I'm surprised by people who say this is Emma Stone's movie. I think it is Rachel.
I think it's just because she like sets the story, like she arrives and then the story starts. But, I love Rachel.
She goes on a bit of a roller coaster ride. Her character does in the film too. It's a bit,
and also Rachel hasn't been back since she won, and she beat Amy when she won her Oscar, so now she could beat her again.
Oh, okay. Nicole Kidman is back. I'm just going to tick off some other contenders here in the race. Michelle Yeoh, of course, could be nominated for Crazy Rich Asians. Margot Robbie is cited as a contender for Mary Queen of Scots. And Linda Cardellini for Green Book is, plays the wife. It's a fun comic light performance, but very, very heartrending. What do you guys think about these other people in the race? Oh, and we've got Marina, the actual actress from Roma. She's on the list as well.
Mm-hmm. And Claire Foy
Claire Foy. We jumped over. Claire was actually out front to win this race with the Gold Derby experts, and then Regina has just exploded in the last 10 days to 2 weeks, and so Claire has fallen behind. Claire, of course, just won the Emmy for the royal move. The thing. What's the name of it?
The Crown.
The Crown. Thank you. And so she had just won the SAG the 2 previous years for the Crown. So.
I think like Claire can get in. I mean, she does a lot with very little in that movie.
I know,
but she's good in it. I have her getting in, but the others, I think like they have an outside shot. Like Nicole, I think Boy Erased needs to hit, and I don't know if it will. But she's good in that too. Margot. I don't know with Mary Queen of Scots, but I think like that's just like the second tier of people right now. But I wouldn't be surprised if any of them got in.
Yeah, Kidman has a great role in Boy Erased.
She does.
In a real character arc that comes on strong into the third act, and as you'd expect, she's just fantastic in it. So I think that she could earn a nomination. But a lot of real strong contenders that you mentioned there. I think the 2 women from The Favorite and Regina King are just have separated themselves, and then you have a lot of really strong candidates for this.
I loved Elizabeth Debicki in Widows. Yeah. Like I would love it if she got it. I don't know if she can, but that would be a great nomination.
Yeah, I have her in my picks right now because I loved her so much in that movie, and a lot of people do. The response to her at Toronto was great, so we'll see. That would be a fantastic nomination.
It would be. Also, Lupita Nyong'o's back in the race with Black Panther. Those are the people up front here. Any final thoughts to wrap up? We can reconvene in a couple of weeks to see where the race is going once we have more tea leaves. But as of right now, your view from the mountaintop. Let's have final thoughts first from Glenn. The Derby overview.
Yeah. Well, no front runners. We're not going to spoil anyone's day. We're not going to wreck anyone's lives by anointing them, by crowning them. But, really anxious to see Vice, because we're all just like at that point where we'd love to see the apple cart upended and all of our just the way Clint Eastwood has done a couple of times through his career, and apparently The Mule's not going to be that movie, so it's all on Adam McKay's shoulders for Vice. But right now, kind of a fun year. What's great about it is that, in the year that for 2 seconds the Academy thought it was a good idea to have a new Oscar category for popular film, we have potentially, at least four movies that are very popular with audiences, strong contenders for Best Picture.
Yeah, you could actually have a popular film win Best Picture.
Which has
that's a popular film.
Yeah, which hasn't happened since Argo.
Mm-hmm.
That's no $100 million box office gross since Argo won 6 years ago.
Interesting. Final thoughts, Joyce?
Yeah, I agree. I love this time of the year, like this before like people start giving out awards and like, you know, with still a couple of movies left to be seen because it's still unpredictable. It's kind of like before you open your Christmas presents because it could all change afterwards. And like one thing could steamroll or like, you know, like last year, 4 actors could steamroll. So I like the unpredictability right now. And I hope it stays that way with like a couple, you know, horses in the race in like, you know, all the major categories.
My final thought is this, and that is when you look back historically at Gold Derby, our predictions, which we've been making, by the way, since the year 2000, since the year of Gladiator and Traffic and all that. What is remarkable is that because we start so early, we start before the film festivals, is how accurate we are by early. Now, yes, there were years like we picked Unbroken, you know, Angelina Jolie's movie to win Best Picture before we had seen it and done a lot of stupid things like that. But in general, the most surprising thing is that we tend to get 2 of the 4 acting races right of our picks, but before we even see them at Toronto. That's how obvious some years are. And then we pretty much size it up in terms of the front runners. But as Glenn was saying earlier, every now and then there's this $1 million baby that ambushes the race in December and changes everything just when you think there are solid front runners. But I think one of the greatest myths about the Oscars is that you don't want to be out front too early. Glenn was saying that the studios, we don't want A Star Is Born out too early. But there are many years, like 12 Years a Slave, The Artist, American Beauty, Titanic, the movie that's out front early, stays there. It does happen, everybody. Yes, Moonlight overtook $1 million La La Land at the last minute, but in general, it's not a bad thing to be out front early. That said, thanks for following us here, and we will pick this up again in a couple weeks when we probably will have very different predictions, but very good reasons for changing. Make your predictions at Gold Derby prove that you are the smartest prognosticator on the planet, not us.